we are with the Warrior Poet Project podcast. A warrior himself sitting across from me, Steven Twitch Boss.
Yeah.
Arr. There's some technical difficulties. What's going on, Orlando? Oh, yeah, we got lights off. Now we got lights
nice.
on. Yeah, we didn't notice that, but now we're ready.
Yeah.
So with the lights on here, again, with Steven Twitch Boss, one of my favorite athletes in general and an accomplished dancer. I've been watching you for many years, impressed with what you do, and now we're going to find out the whys, the what makes you tick, the how you came up.
Awesome.
What you're bringing to the table.
Love it.
So we talked a little bit about this on the On It podcast, but I want to go a little deeper.
Okay.
There was at some point a decision where you said, you know what, I'm going to be a dancer. Mm-hmm. So talk us through that decision and what kind of was going through your head.
Honestly, it's one of those, for me, hands down, it's something you feel when you connect with a passion, when it's something that you're passionate about, you really don't have a choice in the matter.
So you just felt like that was a part of.
Yeah. As soon as because dancing has always been a passion of mine before I knew what passion was, and before I could express, hey, I'm really passionate about this. I'd like to pursue this. It was the thing that always got me amped. It was, literally from watching Michael Jackson videos when I was 5 or 6 years old to now seeing
He was
great
nasty
dance.
back
Oh my
then.
God, he was so nasty, so good.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember dancing around trying to do that.
Absolutely,
shit.
and I could, and this was like before YouTube.
But you realized you were good at it. At some point, all of us, we were watching Michael Jackson videos, but then at some point you were like, damn. I'm kind of good at this, right?
You know what? Though? I don't know if the point where I was like, man, I'm pretty good, or is like, man, I'm just gonna get good at this, like, because I don't want to do anything else, and nothing else felt as good as dancing. Nothing else felt that good. You know what I mean?
So that was almost one of those things where you feel almost dance like chose you.
Absolutely.
You know,
Definitely.
like that was part of what you were destined to be.
Absolutely, because looking back on it is just the way that everything fell into place. The way that the opportunities either presented themselves or I recognized the opportunities, whichever ones that it was, whichever order it came in, they were laid out, and I recognized them immediately. How each step of the way was adding toward the path.
So then from that point, though, there's still a lot that goes on, because I think that moment happens for all of us. Mm-hmm. But then most of us end up kind of either ignoring it or not able to put in the work to make it happen. So there was probably pressure for you not to be a dancer. I mean, you're growing up in Alabama.
Absolutely.
You know, and it probably not in at least a technical dance community.
Absolutely.
Right. That wasn't like socially reinforced.
Of course. No, of course not. Absolutely.
You know, so talk us about that. What was the kind of like, what were your homeboys saying? You know, like, were they supportive, or did you get them people like, come on, man?
Yeah, I had both, actually. You know, one of the greatest things, though, my best friend, Robert, he was with me from the beginning. He was just like, okay, you want to dance? Then cool. Like, I'm with you. You know, he was like one of my only homies that came to the dance team tryouts, actually.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy because there's in this dance team tryouts, mind you, this is like a high school dance team, right? So I'm the only dude on the team full of girls, right? So one of the requirements on the tryouts was to do a toe touch, to jump and do like a toe touch, right? So,
like cheerleader style.
Like cheerleader style, toe touch. But I had been practicing them all week. And no, I'm serious. And Robert was like, yo, that's good right there. That's good. Yeah. You know.
Because you knew they were coming? Or
yeah, because I knew they were coming.
I
knew they were coming. So when the time came, there was nothing like, and I still remember this to this day. It was my time to do it. Like, and we had to do the tryouts on stage in front of everybody that wanted to come and watch. And I remember going up, and I did mine. And then when I landed, I heard Robert in the crowd go, whoo! Like, I was like, yeah. Like, I was like, nailed that. Like, you know what I mean? But that was the support that I had, man. Robert was behind me. My younger brother, DeAndre, was behind me. And, you know, my parents, it took a little convincing, just because they didn't know anything about a dance career or a dance path, because we didn't really know any dancers, you know, so they didn't know where you could go or what you could do with it, or, you know, can you go to college for that, or what are you going to do, You know, they didn't know those things. So it was it was definitely a process. Of course, you have your guys that's like is calling you ballerina and twinkle toes and all that. You know what I mean? But
what do you think is, you know, it's almost like that phenomenon of like gay bashing or something like that. It's like, what about you dancing is threatening to people? Not you in general. What is it about dancing that's threatening to people? Is it threatening their masculinity somehow?
Yeah, it's threatening
but
their masculinity.
But what? Let's bore down. Let's figure out what that is.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the misunderstood, because you got, with me especially, it was just a misunderstanding, because I was as big as the guys that were mocking me. So it was never and that was the funny thing, is it was never a physical threat. It was always just kind of verbal, because I was just as big as they were. I could have been on the football field or on the dance team. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. So I think it's one of those things. It's like, well, wait, like you're built like that, but you're gonna dance though? I just don't get it. So what does my boy think about? Oh, you think that's gay? Yeah, that is. Yeah, that is. You know what I mean? Rather than thinking for yourself and being like, well, I guess that's pretty cool. Like, he seems like a pretty cool guy. You know, you don't understand it. So then the first whiff of any kind of opinion from somebody close to you, you easily latch on to that. You know what I mean? It's like you don't understand it, and then you hear somebody close to you say what they feel about it, and you go, oh yeah, I can kind of understand. Okay, yeah, like, you know, and then that becomes its own thing. I think especially in high school, because there's only a few in high school that can actually form their own opinion and roll with it, even if it's against everybody else.
That's true. They are those leaders, you know. But at some point, you know, there came a, you know, you go back to the tribal setting, you know. If you could, everybody was dancing. Absolutely. And it was like the warriors, you know, coming home from victory. What did they do? They danced. They probably fucked and whatever, but they were dancing.
And hey, even then, that's dancing too.
Yeah. But and then at some point, you know, it just became this thing. And I think, you know, as, you know, part of my philosophy and why I call it warrior poet is it's embracing the opposites. Right. You know, it's being able to be as masculine, as tough as any individual as in, but when the time comes, you know, go to a ballet class and get the most out of it.
Course,
you know, that is what being a warrior poet is. It's being to say, oh, fuck what you think I should be.
Exactly.
You know, like, I can be that and everything.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I'm actually literally a poet, and that's another thing that has a weird stigma. Oh, you write poetry? Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You must take it in the butt. You like poetry,
but see,
no,
totally misunderstood. It's because they don't do it. And for those that do write and appreciate poetry, they go, "Oh, that's really cool."
Right.
And with that, they realize, because writing poetry is just another beautiful way of expressing yourself. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So for those that not poetry, it's just like, well, okay, well what,
maybe, you know, that's a good point. Maybe what I think, you know, maybe what it is there's a vulnerability to dancing, and there's a vulnerability to poetry. If it's going to be good, it has to be coming and exposing some part of yourself. You're actually putting yourself out there. You're making poetry with your body or your words or your emotions, but you're allowing that to be touchable. And I think that scares the shit out of people.
Oh, of course.
So if they don't want to allow that to come out of themselves, they got to bash it.
Oh yeah.
You know, they got to make it. They got to make it whatever, not cool, and because they're afraid of it. And you see that in everything. You see that from, you know, certain religious beliefs to other socially enforced things.
Of course, man.
But I think that's probably it. People are afraid to drop their shields and have a genuine expression.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, and with that, I understand the challenge, but then I also understand the benefits of it too. Though, you know, you prosper a lot more expressing yourself than not. You know what I mean? And allowing those emotions to come through. It is. There are certain struggles I have with that sometimes, but I understand it. But to completely block it, that's what I don't get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I always felt like either every human being has some affinity to either make the music or dance to the music.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I like that,
I mean, I think one way or the other. There's the music makers, and sometimes it's both. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like that's kind of it's ingrained in our DNA somehow. Mm-hmm. You know, as human beings, as this species of monkey on this flying rock, you know, this primate, that's part of us dancing, like hearing that beat, because you see it in every single culture. There's not a single one that doesn't have dance as part of it.
Because and then this is a beautiful thing too. It's just like even with children, like with little babies, right? Before they know about anything that's cool and what's acceptable and stuff like that, when they hear music, they dance.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Right.
When they hear music, they dance naturally. All of them.
Right.
All of them do. You know what I mean? And it's not until later, until conditioning, that's either patted down or brought up. You know what I mean? So it's just, and that goes across the board, I feel like, almost with everything. So it makes you wonder sometimes, and this is something that I always wondered about too, being from where I am from. I feel like there's so much untapped talent there because everything is so subdued because it's not culturally acceptable. You know what I mean? For males to be an artist rather than just a straight athlete, or either just being an artist while you're being an athlete, it's not really acceptable.
Yeah, you're supposed to be one or the other.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why I point to some historical figures. You know, probably things that you might not even be aware of yourself. Is you've heard of the philosopher Socrates, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So what you probably haven't heard is that he was one of the toughest warriors in the Greek army. Like there's tales of his heroism and bravery that are incredible, like remarkable. Yeah. He was a tough motherfucker. He cut his beard with his sword, and he was out on campaign till he was like 45 years old. And there's stories he had it was a young lover actually. It was Alcibiades, was a great warrior himself, and he got a little overzealous and forged out ahead of the line because they fought in phalanx in different formations. Got out ahead of the line. The enemy army overtook him and surrounded him and took his sword. He lost his sword and he was battling there. And there comes Socrates, like hurling out of the formation, jumps up, shields him, and fights people off until his whole line, for like however many minutes, till his whole line could catch up. Right. So, you have these examples of this, the great philosopher who's also the great warrior. Exactly. Miyamoto Musashi, who is the great samurai duelist. He won, I don't know how many sword duels to the death, but was also a great painter and a great calligrapher and a great, writer, of course. And I think we've lost that kind of dynamic of being able to be everything.
So with that being said, and this is actually a question for you, do you feel like that it is actually ingrained in all of us to be great at many things rather than one? It really
absolutely is. I think one of my favorite quotes is from Cyrano, and he says, "I was once troubled by all the many paths that I could take, so I decided to be admirable at everything." Right. And so like do it all. You don't have to be one or the other. Right. You can experience all that, and look, we're here to enjoy life, to get the most out of it. Right. I mean, the feelings that you must get through dancing, and even I get. Look, I'm not any great dancer, but I'll feel it occasionally, You even probably saw a glimpse of it last night, where I'll lock in, and it'll be so you just feel that rush, that's really unique to dancing, and people are just missing out on that. They're just skipping that whole category.
Oh yeah. And they know that when they know they want to. That's the thing.
Right.
When you know that you want to.
Yeah.
And that is something to be said for that too. It's just like when you finally give into that feeling, it's incredible. You know what I mean? The feeling is there, so just act upon it.
Yeah, and I can sympathize with being a little bit self-conscious, because truthfully, we get out and we had a few drinks, which helps, but we were out to this empty ass club, and it's just pretty good music, but just nothing else there, and we're here with two professional dancers. We dance all the time, we dance our asses off, but at the start, I'm looking at Whitney and I'm going, are we really going to do this right now? Are we going to dance in front of these guys? And then, so we start moving a little bit, like just kind of keeping it easy. But when we really started having fun is when we were just like, fuck it. Exactly. Let's just go for it, move and do it. And I think everybody pushing themselves through past that point, they're going to get a lot more out of their life, a lot more out of their parties. They're going to really enjoy themselves.
It'll be what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Just 100% fun.
Yeah.
But to have fun, you got to, sometimes you got to not think about it so much. Sometimes the I don't know, that the apprehensions really take away from the fun. If you sit back, it kind of
it'll
takes
build
away
on
from,
itself
yeah,
too.
exactly.
You know, the more you sit back, the more pressure is going to mount for you to start. Because then you start thinking, well, I haven't danced for the last 30 minutes. Now, if I start now, everybody's really going to look at me.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So just do it. Just jump in. You know, what I've always found is like by the time, and I was a little shy at certain situations too. You know, and I always ended up doing it, but I always knew that once I got the first sweat. Like once that first drop of sweat hit my head from dancing, I was not going to worry about a thing.
Oh, not at all.
After that, like you get to that point, you know, you are no longer self-conscious, and it's just ready to go. It's actually the same in sparring or sports. You know, all those nerves, any kind of that anxiety. The minute your body's working hard enough to sweat,
absolutely,
you know, you're going to be good. So just dive in.
Just do it, man. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing though, and I'd like to say it's enough to lead by example, but there's one more. I feel like there's one more step that's still a bit of an unknown. I don't know if it's the same for you, you know, because we as much as we can talk about it, you know what I mean, and then even go do it. And if we go out, you know, and just start dancing, having a good time, or whatever we're doing, just start having a good time. There's still this one missing extra step, a little bit, whether that be coming from reassurance, verbal reassurance and affirmation that everything's okay to just have a good time and do, you know. But I feel like there's still one more step or one more prod that you have to do to get people to go, okay, all right,
So what is
loose.
that? What is that one final step?
You know, I think it's different for different individuals. Some people need to hear that it's okay, that it's you know, that it's all right. And then I think for some people that they need the pressure to be taken off of them, you know, because there's some where it's like say it's you and I, and I'm trying to get you to cannonball into a pool. I can do it myself and then turn around and say, come on, come on and do it, dude. It's gonna be fun, and then that could be your trigger, or I could just do it and then go like, come on, dude. And then go about my day, and that could be enough for you because all the pressure's taken off.
Yeah,
I'm
not waiting.
not turning around looking at you and waiting for you to do it.
Right.
I gotta just say, hey, dude, it's fun, and
just
go
not
about your own thing.
Not make a big deal about it.
And it's not a big deal, exactly. So you're like, okay, it's not a big deal. Let's just go, you know, and we'll talk about it after I do it, whatever. You know. So I think it's different for different individuals.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
You know,
I agree. And people, you know. For me, not dancing would be like going through your whole life and looking at fruit and being like, yeah, you know, I'm going to go to my deathbed and never taste what a apple tastes like, or a banana or something like. It's something that's part of life, like an opportunity.
Oh yeah.
To do it. And look, that's what, you know, my message is all about. Let's get the most out of this existence. You know, why else are we here?
Exactly.
So I think that's important. So what else, you know, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face both in your professional and personal career?
Honestly, it's one of the biggest challenges is just to stay very focused on the bigger picture that I'm working towards. So what I'd like for my life, and not necessarily on every circumstance that's going on. One of the biggest challenges is not letting the circumstance dictate my vision. You know what I'm saying? Like, so no matter what's happening, I can't let it dull down the lights on where I'd like to take it, where I'd like to take my life.
So, you know, and it phrased another way is staying true to your intent, keeping that higher picture in your head of where ultimately you wanted to go, realizing that there's going to be meandering pathways along the way. You know, sometimes you're going to be walking backwards, and sometimes you're going to go into the side. But eventually, that's going to be the path.
And all of that, even the challenge through all that, you're going to gain something from that challenge that's going to help you with your footing on the way back up to the top. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's still a constant challenge. So even saying that to myself now doesn't mean that I always have it every day. Sometimes there are days when I sit back and I'm wondering what the next step's going to be and what I'm doing and things like that. But
we all have those moments. That's just being human.
Exactly.
You know, those moments of reflection and taking time to get some clarity and be like, all right, what's the plan here?
Right.
You know, what are we doing with ourselves?
But to dwell in it and not use that dwelling to your advantage is
Sure.
often.
Do you have any meditation practice that you do?
You know what? As far as meditation goes, I have like a breathing practice, literally just the most basic meditation practice there is, which is just concentrating on your breath. You know what I'm talking about? For me, it's hard for me to keep to silence my mind down. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
So right now I'm still at the point of just focusing on my breath, and that's just not meaning like making sure I'm breathing. Of course I'm breathing, but just breathing in and breathing out. And
I was
breathing in and
I
breathing
hear
out.
you. And I was talking to somebody who went to a meditation retreat with that same philosophy, and their goal was to count their breaths and then count how many breaths they could breathe without having a single other thought enter their mind. Right. And like most people couldn't get past 5 if they were being honest.
No, not at all. It's the mind is it's a beautiful and it's a super tricky thing because it's so aware of everything, and you have an opinion about everything, even if you don't want to.
The mind doesn't shut off. It's like a useful tool. It's like having a computer at your disposal, except you can't close the lid ever. It's always on, and it's always calculating, and it's always telling. It's playing YouTube clips for you when you don't even want it. Like, shut the fuck up. Why are you playing
songs? Thinking about song lyrics.
Exactly. It's like a computer with its own brain. I think that's and people struggle with that, and that's one of the reasons for meditation. And for me, I go farther. I have to use even heavier methods. I'm a believer. I'll go to native cultures and go through their sacrament, their spiritual practices, and take ayahuasca, for example, or something like that. Something that'll really shut off that portion of my mind for a minute, so I can really get properly aligned. Because it is a beast.
It's tough. Because think about all the things that. For those that are listening to or watching this, think about all the things that you're thinking about as you're watching or listening to this. Even the things that I'm thinking about now as I'm talking to you, there are things going on now. You know what I mean?
But when you dance, I bet it all goes away.
It's
and that's one of the cool things about being in a activity where you're engaging your body.
Absolutely.
At that.
Absolutely. And that is the zone. Nothing. It's
how nice is that feeling when you got no other thoughts?
No mind.
No mind.
No mind at all. And it's the greatest thing to come out and not worry about what just happened. It's just because you felt good doing it, and you were just doing what felt natural. So when you finish, you're not worried about. Oh, well, how was that? How was that? Was it good? Was that whack? What was that? You know what I mean? There have been some times when I come out of the circle and I'll ask one of my boys, like, yo, was that whack? Because I was in and out of the thing.
You were thinking about it as you do it.
It's trying to do these things, and it's that's the challenge, especially I think with when it comes to artistically expressing yourself in front of others when you have gotten that reassurance that what you're doing is really good. Yeah. And then there are moments when you don't get that reassurance. So, you know what I mean?
You're used to everybody going, damn, that was sick.
Like, there's the O factor is what it is. It's circle. Everybody's like, oh, so that feels incredible, And then there's sometimes when nobody goes, oh, so it's like, if you're not zoning out, you're thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna probably end this a little soon too, because I might be a little whack right now.
Yeah, it's funny how you get conditioned to certain things. Where some people, if they got any O, it would be like highlight of it. But you get calibrated to a certain reaction. That's funny. It's a good point. But yeah, going back to just using your physicality to quiet the mind. I mean, whether it's yoga, for me, it was always basketball. When I'm playing hoop, I could just not think about anything else. It's just reactions. It's constant split-second reactions to the game. And yeah, there's times when you're in the zone and the basket looks like it's 10 feet wide. That's a cool feeling. It's separate. But even just playing, where you're just mixing it up. You're in the flow, and I can just shut my mind off for a little while. Just give it a little break.
Yeah.
And that's key, So being able to get your body in the kind of shape that you can do something like that
absolutely
is important.
Of course. and just awesome to have, like, you know, to have a release like that. Do you still play ball? Like, you still play ball?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having I lost my game. We had a game that I was playing in pretty regularly, and we lost the gym, so I haven't been able to get one back. But I'm still always doing something, whether it's racquetball, MMA. A lot of things can be a surrogate. Tennis, golf is the only mind fuck where you're constantly thinking about shit. Like, I mean, I guess some of those guys are in the zone occasionally, but golf allows so much space for thinking.
Exactly.
You know, which is an exercise in itself.
Right.
You're like trying to master your mind.
Exactly.
And just be in the flow of golf.
Right.
But that's a challenging one to do. Tennis is hard too, because you got all those in between the points, and you're
absolutely
a lot of opportunity to get too much mind in there.
Man.
You know, I just went to a retreat with this guy, Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote the book, The Four Agreements.
Yeah, of course.
Right on. So, you know, he talks about some of the behavior of the mind, like we're mentioning, as he calls it the parasite. You know, and the parasite is addicted to a lot of things. It's addicted to thinking, first of all, and it's a lot of times it's addicted to suffering too. Absolutely. It's addicted to different attributes that are not helpful for ourselves. So a lot of what, you know, his teaching is to, you know, learn to recognize, be aware, become aware. Awareness is the first key. Become aware when there's some aspect of your mind that is jabbering away at something, either causing you fear, causing you jealousy, causing you anger, causing you distraction, and just say, hey, parasite, you know, settle the fuck down.
Calm down.
Let's let the big boys run the show for a little while and get out of the way. And, you know, and that's that being unified with your higher self, which I think is where we want to go. But all too often, that mind that we ramp up to help us do these tasks, that computer that we turn on all the time, gets out of control.
Absolutely. And it's funny, that's one of the first, that's actually one of the first books I ever completed by myself that wasn't like a required reading, you know what I mean? And I forget how I even stumbled upon the Four Agreements, but I read it the first time I picked it up, read it
the whole way through.
You know,
truth sounds a little different when you read it, and that's one of the things about his philosophy is, you know, it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're like, oh, this is correct.
That makes
so
sense.
Much
sense. Yeah, exactly. And that was incredible. And then after that, I actually read The Power of Now. So to read
Tolle?
those, absolutely. To read those in that order was perfect for me. However that worked out, whatever that was, it was perfect for me, because I feel like the Four Agreements kind of got me ready, got me in the proper mindset to read The Power of Now, because I feel like if I would have tried to do it in the reverse order, the power, I don't think my mind would have been ready for The Power of Now, and what it would have meant to be present, and to silence the mind and things like that. I don't think
you would have been ready.
For it,
well, things happen for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. How good are you now, do you think, practicing the power of now? You know, it's a challenging thing to do, being present.
And I'll tell you this, that I'm excellent at challenging the challenge. It's rare times that I'm just completely unaware of what's happening up here. But I'm not going to say that I don't have times where it goes off.
The key thing is the awareness,
you know, exactly.
of when you're present, and awareness of when you're not.
And I'd like to say I'm not 100%,
right?
But I try my best at 100% all the time.
There's some other cool books that you know, Don Miguel Ruiz, he wrote one called The Mastery of Love, which is I think his masterwork. I think it's one of the best books ever written, and you should definitely check that out. But it was cool to actually be there with him and hear kind of some of his stories. I'll tell one story here. You know, basically he teaches the mastery of your emotions and not, you know, putting your emotional poison on anybody else, you know, and allowing yourself to choose what reality, choose how your dream of life is going to go, and not let your mind, the parasite, or other people, expectations, society dictate that dream for you. And so he has a story where he suffered a heart attack, and he suffers a heart attack, and his son comes in, and he's obviously taught his son his teachings. His son, Jose, comes into the hospital, and he's all emotional. And because his dad has been this powerful figure his whole life, is sick in his hospital bed. He's got tubes in him. He's seemingly barely conscious. And he breaks down. He goes, oh, Papa, 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 oh. And he starts crying, and then Don Miguel Ruiz sits up in his chair. He goes, is this the way you celebrate the death of your father? Go fix yourself, and kicks him out of the room. I mean, how amazing is that story? Whoa.
What?
But for him, that's, everything he's teaching to the very end. He thought he was going to die. He actually ended up getting a heart transplant at the last minute, but he thought he was going to die at that moment. And even to the bitter end, he was going to make sure that his son, his legacy, understood the final lesson.
Wow.
I mean, the guy he really lives and breathes it.
That's amazing.
It is. It was a cool story to hear that coming out of him. But he's a real master. That whole Toltec philosophy has been key for me. I mean, you saw it in the Warrior video that I just played for you. I mean, Castaneda, had another different teachers. And by the way, are you familiar with Carlos Castaneda? Have you read anything? A lot of kind of the philosophy that I was showing you in that video, but still Toltec wisdom. And it was cool to hear them vindicate kind of his teachings as well, because they had it figured out.
That's awesome.
They had it pretty close.
So would you say that you are you're pretty 100% on the consciousness now?
Man, I'm closer than ever. You're never 100%. I mean, it's always a lesson. I just realized, recently how much I still have to go. I've been on this journey of awareness and consciousness and knowledge, and I'll just get hit with something and be like, I really don't know shit yet.
Right.
And I'll constantly have those revelations, but at the same time, I can chart a course where I know that I'm learning things. And there were some definite breakthroughs this weekend, just kind of absorbing what a real master like that is saying. There's not too many of them left.
Oh yeah, I know.
There's a few of them. So that was cool to see. So you have to give you that book. Well, Stephen, that was excellent to have you on this podcast, man. We'll have to do it again, brother. And man, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring people through your art, and we'll keep forging ahead and make sure On It is fueling our bodies and minds so we can deliver the message as effectively as possible.
Effectively as possible, man.
That's what it's all about.
Done and done.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back again next week, and keep it going strong.
Yeah, man.
Much love.
Peace.